Robinson Cano must have woken up with the biggest smile on his face because reports have surfaced that for the first time in 20 years, Major League Baseball will not be testing their players for steroids or PEDs, and that is because their drug agreement has officially expired. So the lockout is still in place because we need a brand new CBA, and now because of the expiration of the drug agreement, Ryan Braun, I fully expect him to announce his comeback to Major League Baseball by the end of today. Robinson Cano is going to have a field day with this news. Now, obviously, I am being facetious, and if we're going to talk about steroids, let's talk about the obvious things real quick. They do not change the fundamentals of said baseball players. Barry Bonds, he was a superstar MVP before he had a balanced breakfast added to his regimen, but let's face it, steroids, they did allow him to have increased stamina, so in the dog days of summer, he wasn't as tired as someone who was off the juice. Objectively speaking, if we look at the science, steroids, they do allow an increase in exit velocity as well as distance traveled on a ball that you hit in the air. So yes, Barry Bonds was absolutely insane before the steroids, but when he was on steroids, he became the greatest hitter of all time in my opinion. Now, I did some research, and I do want to talk about steroids real quick because there is going to be a 2, 3, maybe even 4 to 5 week absence of Major League Baseball testing their players. So I wonder if any of these guys are going to risk it for the biscuit, because if you ingest a pill form of steroids, that is going to be detectable anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks after ingesting it. So if these players think that the negotiations are going to go on for another month or two, they might be safe to take steroids in the absence of PED testing. Now, if they do an injection, which I believe is what Barry Bonds and A-Rod did, that is going to be detectable for up to a full month, maybe even 2 months after injecting. First of all, I would not be taking steroids at all, and I suggest you guys be safe and do not do PEDs or anything like that. But if you're someone like Michael Brantley or Whit Merrifield, someone that is averaging 10 to 15 home runs a season, maybe you risk it for the biscuit. I'm not saying that they are. Do not take this video seriously, take it with a grain of salt. But yes, we're going to talk about some of the players in Major League Baseball that, in my opinion, and as well as Twitter's opinion, would benefit the most from taking steroids. Two guys that would just be absolutely otherworldly if they actually took the juice: Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. And because we kind of seen this before with Jose Canseco in a Yankees uniform, this is what Judge and Stanton would look like on steroids.
Here's Jose Canseco, who looks like the Silver Surfer, sort of a comic book hero. Huge, muscular. Whoa! Wow, did he crush that one? Jose Canseco off the facade of the upper deck. It didn't take long, did it?
Now, one player I saw a lot on Twitter because I posed the question, who's the one player that you would want to see on steroids if they were made legal? Juan Soto was brought up 10 to 15 times, but then I was doing some research and I thought to myself, would Juan Soto actually be that much better if he was on steroids? And my biggest argument is because of his launch angle. It was at 5.05 the last 2 seasons, and he led Major League Baseball in double plays just a year ago. So Juan Soto's approach is rip the cover off the baseball by hitting it up the middle and going the other way with line drives. He is not too home run heavy, which is scary because he is still one of the most powerful players in Major League Baseball. So let me know in the comment section down below, before we talk about the 6 or 7 other guys, would you think Juan Soto turns into Barry Bonds on roids, or because of his plate approach and discipline, is he just going to be a line drive hitter for the rest of his career? Maybe a 35-40 home run guy as opposed to a 55-60. Now, my answer to this question actually changed. At first, I went with Michael Brantley because the dude his nickname is Mr. Smooth. His swing is so crispy. His career high in home runs, though, is 22. And if we take a look at the analytics, if we look at his average exit velo, he is barely above average. He has a career 9.9 launch angle, though, so it's more than Juan Soto's. He hits the ball a little bit higher than Juan Soto, so if you factor in steroids, is he going to be the next Barry Bonds? No. For me, Michael Brantley on steroids, he would turn into Juan Soto without steroids, if that makes sense. Tim Anderson is another name that I saw as well. He has a 3 322 batting average since 2019, but only a 495 slugging. It's still pretty good, but his very average exit velo leaves a lot to be desired, and he only has a 7.7 launch angle. So if you introduce PEDs, HGH, steroids to his balanced breakfast, maybe he turns into a Xander Bogaerts type player offensively, because he's still pretty good on the bases. But the one player, if Major League Baseball allowed steroids, or they came out with a weird Captain America type machine that would beef up one player, I'm going with Whit Merrifield, because I don't mean to be offensive, but he swings a wet noodle. He has been in the bottom 6 to 12% in hitting baseballs hard over the last 3 seasons, but the most interesting part about Whit Merrifield is that he doesn't let that stop him from hitting baseballs in the air. He has a career 15.4 launch angle. So even though the dude doesn't have any raw power, he is trying to hit baseballs in the air. So again, if Major League Baseball had Whit Merrifield turn into Captain Rogers, he might be the best player in the game, because he's got the speed, he's got the defense, he's got the contact, he's got the leadership, and you would introduce raw power to his game. He would literally be the Mookie Betts of infielders. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Whit Merrifield would be my pick, because he would literally be Captain America. Because we brought up Mookie Betts, I just want to go ahead and show his analytics as well. His max exit velocity and hard hit percentages are both about average. So could you imagine if Mookie Betts took steroids with the launch angle of about 16? He would be Mike Trout with better defense. That is what I'm going to go ahead and compare him to. Moving on over to a couple different names. Jose Ramirez, Mr. La Parra. Last year he had 36 home runs, but if we take a look at his baseball savant page, he had just above average exit velocity. So to me, if J-Ram started juicing for the rest of his career, he would be a 400 home run guy and a 400 stolen base guy, because theoretically steroids allow you to produce at a higher level longer into the season. So he would steal more bases, he would hit more home runs. And if we're talking about other switch hitters, I would love to see Yoan Moncada on steroids. The max exit velocity is there. When he makes connection, he does have a pretty high ceiling, but consistency, that is what he lacks. He could be the next J-Ram if he just, again, if Major League Baseball implemented a new drug agreement, that there was no drug agreement, they were just going to allow it to be the Wild Wild West. We would have Sammy Sosa versus Mark McGwire 2.0. Moncada, he would be a lot of fun to watch. But to me, I mean, the biggest wild card for today's video, Trey Turner. He was the fastest player in baseball last year, and he barely has above average exit velocity. So he could be a guy, he could be the first human in baseball history to hit 45 home runs and have 50 stolen bases in a single season, or he could be the first 50-50 player, 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. Now, one more player I just want to throw out there because I thought it would be fun. Akil, the Badman Badu. He was bottom 14% in both average exit velocity and hard hit percentage, so he relies on his speed and just putting the ball in play. But we did see a 450-foot home run from Akil Badu, and he did this without roids, I think.
In game 1 of the series, Akil Badu puts a jolt into one. Deep center field, it's gone! Oh, baby!
Who is this kid?
So the reason why I bring up Akil Badu is he's got the speed, he does have decent pop already, and the key, his launch angle was 14 last year, so he does like to lift the ball a little bit more than the average player. Juan Soto was at 5.05, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was under 10, so we know that hitting the ball in the air along with steroids, good things tend to happen. So could you imagine Akil Badu on the juice? I really feel like he could be a superstar player just for right now. I don't know if his ceiling is the highest because he does not hit the ball all that hard, even though he's a fairly jacked up guy. He's getting stronger in the offseason. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you make of the current lockout update? There is no update aside from the fact that Major League Baseball is not testing their players for PEDs and steroids because the agreement, it expired for the first time in 20 years since the home run race. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I catch you all on the next one.